Hello everyone, Treecks here, and welcome back to the extra content of F0X and F0X expansion kit. My apologies for this third one taking so long. Because of the Pokemon project and all of the surrounding weekend projects filling up so much space, I did not really have time to do this sooner. First needed to wait until an extra spot finally opened again. But here we are, and we're still going to finish off showing my custom tracks here in F0X. This third one, my King Cup you might say, I already made sure they are input here so we can use all the time in the video to show them off. Because if I need to be honest, and this is not the third step in my custom tracks for nothing, these are definitely going to be a lot trickier than what we have seen so far. My third cup is actually also my Death Race Cup, you might say. I had a couple of weird ideas to create super challenging and hard tracks. And yeah, all of them turn out to be death race tracks, you might say. And not in the sense that you can ram people off the stage a lot. They will actually fall off themselves, you might say. Shall we get started? We have plenty of tracks to cover yet again today, 6 of them. It is time to jump into the Edit Cup and do the most difficult cup so far, starting off with King 1, which I'm actually going to call Tekricity. Yeah, it's a new venue that I actually came up with. Even though I did have to change up the venue compared to what I made in the Execution project back then. But it's still the same track. And the gimmick of it is probably going to be the only one we're going to see today that is somewhat survivable. The reason why we're doing it first. When it comes to character selection, last time was Jodie Summer in her Super Cat. However, we also have Samurai Goro and a new machine, and a new outfit as well. Driving around in the Super Stingray, he has a body of B, but everything else is going to be A. And therefore this is a pretty good machine to use on the super difficult tracks. Okay, the way everything is laid out here, we can pretty much already see the gimmick here. This is a 4-way mirror, you might say. The track is made in such a way that it actually forms somewhat of a room around the finish line, as you can see. We go directly over the finish line, upside down, and then move towards the side of the finish line. Turn, and then reappear at the other side of the finish line. Really interesting looking track, you might say. Not per se that difficult, like I said at the start of this cup. I think the only track in the cup that is actually not per se that difficult to even reach the finish line. This one is more of a design track, you might say. And the computer players are still driving too fast, looks like. And I also hit somebody, apparently. Oh, silly master computer players. You're going too fast again. You're still falling off. Not everybody, so let's make sure. Still gain up on everybody. Still like to win, of course. One more lap to do. If I need to be honest, that looked awesome by the way, Stuart. But if I need to be honest, officially this track is supposed to have different venues. It's actually unique to the Execution project. Some sort of beta track, you might say, that's present in the programming code of this game. Something the expansion kit is not able to make use of. That only makes use of the quote-unquote official tracks of this game. And therefore I changed it into Port Town venue in this game. But yeah, it is still my Tekricity, you might say. I'm not going to call it Port Town. But that was the first one at least. Was able to win, and not every single computer player fell off. But I think that is going to change in later tracks. This one, in all honesty, also not per se that difficult, but for the computer players it will be. This is actually making use of a gimmick that I discovered the moment I tried reversing tracks. And that is indeed also something that is possible in this game. Changing the direction you're driving in, like I talked about earlier during the coverage of the course edit. And back then I actually found out if you try to fill up a reversed gap with a bit of track and therefore are able to go over it, you can actually create yourself a unique jumping effect. This one. This is actually really fun to play around with. Going up a steep slope and suddenly banking down again, and you can get these really crazy looking fun jumps. The moment you start your jump, your nose is fully in the air. You actually need to point it down as quickly as possible to build up speed. This breaking of jumps, which I've actually dubbed break jumps, is a really fun little gimmick I wanted to play around with for that reason. But anyway, that's it. Let's see, one more turn and finish line. Yeah, I must say, this is one of the favorite gimmicks that I actually discovered when playing around with the course edit. For some reason, even though you don't necessarily go crazy fast because of these jumps, it is still a pretty interesting aspect to play around with. You actually start off really slow with these jumps because of the way you actually point your nose upward, but then you're still able to build up speed, and that sudden change of speed constantly, force braking because of entering the high slope and then building up your speed again when falling, actually really is satisfying to do. I think you can understand what I mean if you even only look at this. This jump in particular, because of the turn being right behind it, is something the computer players aren't able to cope with, as you can see. They all fell off there. Computer players are actually not programmed to immediately dive downwards the moment they jump, and therefore they also don't do it here. But this is the kind of track that actually makes use of the mechanic of diving down immediately after starting your jump, and therefore they fall off. They're not able to keep the turn. But that is their problem. I am able to do it quite easily, and this is one of the more fun gimmicks yet that I've shown off in this game, I think. Bye! Let's move on to track number 3. This is actually officially one of the earliest tracks I made. Obstacle course. My sector beta. And therefore its general shape is pretty basic. However, because of the higher difficulty this one has, I did actually decide to put it into the King Cup. Just saying, this is indeed one of my earlier tracks, and I think design-wise you can actually see that. The gimmick itself also kind of speaks for itself. It's not called obstacle course for nothing. You can see all these straightaways on the track, and those are going to be used in order to do some of these hazards. Hazard training, you might say. Ice and dirt area. Second one being jump plates. Once again, I can point my nose downwards. Next up, dash plates. Try to hit all of them for maximum speed. Traps in turn. Half pipe section. And then a combination of everything. This one being particularly difficult because of having no ramps. And the final bit is pit area. If I need to be honest, this final section with the tunnel, which is actually a big part of nothing, if I need to be honest, other than the twists in the turn there. I did actually think about putting something there as well. But yeah, to be honest, I never really came around to it, so it's still empty. I might change it up later, but I might also not. I'm recording this video now for coverage of my track, so it would be weird if I actually start changing it up again later. That would only mean I need to re-record my video, and it's something I don't really feel like doing. But I think I'll just keep it with this, because then at least we can use this part to boost through it quite fast without having to worry about hitting anything. And that is also worth something. F-Zero remains in high speed racer, of course, so going fast is something we definitely want to do. Even though a couple of tracks are going to come up in a minute where going fast is not per se a wise thing. But we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And this is, despite it being an obstacle course, still really fast-paced course. The final 3 of the cup will not be. Those are definitely made as a challenge, like we promised at the beginning of the cup. Those are going to be utter hell. Not per se going fast, like you would expect in a high-speed racer, but actually struggling to stay alive on the track. And that is also worth trying to play around with. And that I did. But at least Sector Beta, my obstacle course, is still a pretty fun little track to play around on when it comes to going fast. Point-wise, I don't have to fear these guys. I'm also fairly confident all of the remaining tracks are going to fall off. Perhaps even me, because these tracks are definitely really difficult. Mute City 3 is another really tricky track, making use of gaps in the road, as you can see by the subname. Pretty much every single way you can actually make a gap in the road, and of course trying to find ways to cross those gaps, are being utilized in this track. And it turned out to be a really tricky one, especially the final part, right after the high jump, and the small little jumps that follow that are usually the ones that get me. Let's go see how this one turned out. Oh. Whee! I really love the beginning part. Another one of those break jumps, just like we saw in Ancient Ruins, but that one even more steep. Okay, this part's a tricky one. You need to jump really high, and then a couple of small jumps come after it, jump blades. And even turning in mid-air. That is really difficult. Okay, needs to survive the first lap. Let's see if we can talk about the other kinds of jumps a bit more. This one is really fun. The moment you jump here, your nose really is vertically up. Followed by a couple of small hops. And then another new type of jump, jumping with these mines. Also a possibility, of course. There's a high jump. Here's some technical jumps, really technical even, because of the high speed. And the final type of jump is where we actually try to brake on a vertical placed track. Also braking our speed a bit. Yeah, really challenging track. Computer players are, of course, not able to understand the mine jump, so that is usually what gets them. Not boost too fast here, because this part's a bit tricky to approach otherwise. Here we go again. Most fun part of the track. Making these double taps mid-air in order to make the turns. Really awesome. Awesome feeling if you're able to achieve it. Definitely. That should be done. Here we go. That is track number 4. The two most tricky ones still have to come, especially that 5th one. In retrospect, I actually think that one was a bad idea, but it's still a valid track and definitely challenging enough to still be appreciable, I think. But I must admit, I'm not really looking forward to playing that one. This is going to be the first time we're going to be entering hell. Figuratively speaking and literally. Firefield is actually Hairpin hell. And this is a track that takes the aspect of slimline, very narrow tracks, and evolves it into the next level. This track is meant to destroy a vehicle, not to race. But we're still going to race on the most difficult track I've made so far. Staying alive is more of a challenge here than finishing in first place. Let's go see how bad this is. Focusing on the computer players is something I'm not going to be doing here. I'm only going to focus on my energy meter and hopefully survive this ordeal. Okay, here it starts. Eyes on the track, making it really difficult to stay away from the walls. It's also close in on us. Okay, here's even a part where the guide wheels disappear for a bit in looping. Oh, go away guys, you're not helping. Next part. Outbanking turns, of course also in a slim line. More ice on the track. Not really shooting with fire, but still, I don't care. Stupid hairpins. What was I thinking the moment I made this? Survive the first lap, at least. Let's make the pit area. Oh, that could have been better. Let's go off the accelerator for a moment here. In order to keep more control. Oh. Man, I can't imagine trying to do this with an E-body machine. My over 2,000 kilogram Super Stingray is already almost dying because of these turns. And imagine this is a machine that can actually take a punch. Second lap, survived. One more. Oh. This is the most difficult part, definitely looping. Oh, go away! Drag! If you touched me there, I would have slipped out and there was no way I would have stayed alive in looping. Definitely would have fallen off there. But lucky. He did not touch me and therefore punched me off course. Like F-Zero GX would say, of course! Alright, let's go. Boost towards the finish. Success! Yeah, that's my idea of... F-Zero might be a high-speed racer, but that high speed can also be made a challenge. Because going at high speed, you can actually create challenges where it is really difficult to stay alive on the track. Turned out to be this. It's not going to be the only one. In fact, in a later cup there's going to be something similar that's even worse, if I need to be honest. The sixth track of the King Cup, and therefore the final one, is going to be a little bit of a different kind of challenge. Here, we once again need to struggle to stay alive, and not per se go fast on the track. But this one makes use of a completely different gimmick in order to achieve that effect. Namely, where is my brake button? Rainbow Road brake track is especially designed in order to force a racer to also touch its brake every once in a while. And not in a way where just now in Firefield you can actually use the brake in order to stay alive easier. Here you need to press the brake to stay alive at all. As you see over here, if you go full speed in that inverted loop, you simply fall off. Allow me to show you what happens if you don't brake. And then you'll get this effect. As you can see, you will still get carried off the track. And that is indeed the gimmick I was trying to go for here. The outward banked curves you're making here are so tight that even if you let go of the accelerator, you will still get carried off the track normally. You really need to press the brake, especially in that second inverted loop. The first one, usually you're able to get away with if you simply release the accelerator. The second one is by far the most tight turn I've ever made, so here you need to really slow down in order to make sure gravity does not get a hold of you. Interesting idea. Also in retrospect perhaps a very bad idea, because it's also not really screaming high-speed racer. But still a gimmick I wanted to try out. The game gives you the ability to use this aspect as well, so I definitely wanted to make use of it at least once. Yeah, again survived. Oh, too fast, but in this case it does not matter. Fall down where you need to go anyway. And climb our way back to the top. And we are here. Okay, let's boost towards the end. Let's plummet away into the ocean, which is unavoidable on a track like this. And we have fully covered the King Cup of the very badly designed F-Zero X made by Treecks from Veluwe. Computer players, just like a lot of tracks in the Queen Cup, for them it's a bit too mighty. But Samurai Goro was able to finish all 6 of the tracks and is going to be crowned the champion of this newly designed King Cup that shouldn't be in existence. Yeah, like I said, here in the King Cup I actually played around with a lot of weird little gimmicks that really increase the challenge of the tracks, making them difficult to even survive. And that is going to be somewhat less in my quote-unquote Joker Cup. Even though the tracks there, of course, are technically even more difficult than the ones here. But there, it's mostly because of the general difficulty of the tracks and not per se because of the gimmick making them pretty much impossible. I usually think that one actually turned out a bit better. But that one is up for next time, of course. We're not going to see those today. And even that is not going to be my final one. Because like you've seen in my list, there's also an Ace Cup, a completely new cup. So there's still 2 more we need to do in this little coverage of my own custom tracks here in F-Zero X expansion kit. This extra project is still going. 2 more episodes we need to do. Goro also agreed we did very good. These tracks were not easy to survive, so he's definitely right on that end. Those were 18 tracks, and there's still 12 left. I hope to see you next time, when we will continue our little adventure in these difficult tracks that I've been able to create a couple of years ago. And hopefully we are able to survive the rest of them as well. Thank you all for watching F-Zero X Expansion Kits extra video number 3. I will see you again in number 4, the moment I get another extra spot to fill up my regular projects. Treecks out! See you folks in the next one.